Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the LinkedIn News live stream. My name is Martin McGovern, lead coach at Career Therapy, and we're going to be looking at 3 articles today. The first article is going to be about Google. Google pushes back their office return. The second article on LinkedIn Live that we'll be discussing today is, can we make cold calls less cold? And the third one is politics over paychecks for many. What does that mean and how will it impact your job search? So grab your brown liquid drugs or whatever's keeping you alive this morning and let's get into it.
I'm too old for this. Been around this, broken down for way too long. Left my home for this. Story-eyed, it's no surprise. Things went wrong. What was I thinking, babe? All the mistakes I made.
Okay, so story number 1 from LinkedIn News today is about Google. Google pushes back their office return. This is by Monica, editor at LinkedIn News, updated just 7 minutes ago. So it's breaking news. What? All right, Google is the latest major company to push back its office return due to the ongoing threat of the Delta variant. The tech behemoth will now welcome workers back in January of 2020. Previously, they planned on an October, and before that, a September return, albeit a hybrid one, requiring workers to be in the office 3 days a week. So this is telling us a few things, because when Google makes decisions like this, they are quite often setting the standard for the rest of companies. A lot of companies look to places like Google, like Facebook, like Twitter, and mimics what they do. And so you can expect that when a company is doing these things, that is that large, that is Google, it's going to have a bit of a ripple effect. People will take their lead from these larger companies. So if you're someone who's looking to be remote, who's looking to have a more hybrid work environment, this is a great thing for you because you're seeing that the standards are being set, right? There was a huge push 2 months ago for everyone to get back in the office prior to the Delta variant. And it was stressing a lot of people out because they were saying, wait a second, we've been so productive over the last year in quarantine. As a matter of fact, sales have gone up. Why do we now need to be in the office? Low key, it's because real estate prices and blah, 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 blah. We won't get into it. But here's our opportunity. Here's another opportunity to be able to work remote, to be able to negotiate that when you're doing a job interview, right? The power that you have to negotiate for hybrid work and remote work has never been this strong. So great opportunity. Cool to see Google doing it. And it's a real benefit for anyone who's thinking about those things. Now, it's unfortunate that that benefit is coming with continued pandemic restrictions. If only these companies would do it out of the goodness of their heart. Unfortunately, that's not how things work. But what are the other COVID updates that are going on in the working world? The first one is that most companies now have a vaccine mandate for employers. A Willis Towers Watson survey shows. I will still always call it the Sears Tower because I grew up in Chicago. The head of Centers of Disease Control and Prevention said those who are not vaccinated should stay at home this Labor Day weekend. And the European Union recommended that its 27 members limit non-essential travel. On the heels of FDA approval, they're endorsing the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine for Americans 16 and up, and the Education Department for investigating 5 states where bans on mask mandates may run afoul for civil rights laws. Smart to delay seasonal trends for years of corona and flu show that the worst annual season ramps significantly up in November and October, so we would have seen people getting sick either way. The season trends are predictable, so why not follow them? Cool. I think that's a pretty interesting development from Google. Quick shout out to Marcus. Great to see you here, my man. I know it's been a bit, and we're back, and the live stream is taking on a whole new form. It's maybe not going to be daily, but when the mood strikes, when I see an article worth talking about, I do miss it. So thanks for coming back. Okay, our next article here. Can we make cold calls less cold? This is huge for any job seekers who are looking to network, right? Networking is the big pain in the butt, right? And I always like to call it nerding out instead of networking, because then it makes it more warm, less cold, less about give me a job and more about connecting with people who do the things you do, right? When I became a coach, I connected with hundreds of coaches because I just wanted to know about what's going on in the industry, meet people who work in the industry, learn from people who work in the industry, and so on. Same for when I went into advertising, same for when I was in marketing. We need to surround ourselves with the people that we are interested in doing the same work as, all right? So if you want to be a writer, you should know other writers. If you want to be an actor, you should know other actors, and so on and so forth. If you want to be in cybersecurity, you should know dozens, if not, hundreds of people who work in cybersecurity. All right. So you're scrolling through LinkedIn and you find someone with your dream job. Oh my God, dream jobs. Let's please stop that phrase. I use it in my stupid hashtags because everyone uses it, but there is no such thing. Just find good enough jobs, people. All right, I'll get off my high horse. Of course, you want to reach out, but that means cold calling, or nowadays, cold messaging. Ooh la la. For many, making initial contact with a complete stranger is nerve-wracking. Why? It's probably something to do with our fear of rejection. Amazon Web Services' Ali Miller says that we can boost response rates if we are clear on two things: why we're reaching out and what our ask is. All right. So a couple things here. I actually don't think it's fear of rejection. I think it's, from what I've been told, it's imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome is funny because it's not necessarily the feeling of being an imposter isn't like I suck. The feeling of being an imposter is other people are going to find out that I don't know everything. It's a worry of being caught. So networking, of course, is going to be something that creates stress because that's putting you in situations where you might get caught. All right. So what we need to do is reduce the expectations of these networking conversations, right? We don't need to worry about getting caught when we're not going in as experts. If we're only going in as someone who's curious to learn with a lot of questions and wanting to connect, there is no getting caught. There's also no rejection. But if we go in and we're like, I want this job and I'm an expert, and then they ask us a question and we don't know the answer, that's an issue, right? So just some things to keep in mind. But what does Ali say? The best cold emails are specific and actionable. Have you been thinking deeply about a recent blog post that you'd love to get clarity on? Always good to, say you've been researching their work. Do you have a follow-up question on a webinar that you've rewatched? Do you have a meaningful decision at work that they may have faced before? Get clear on why you're reaching out and what your specific ask is. Trust me, it will make a world of difference with your response rates. This is massive, and I think one of the best ways to do it for your job search is to be clear on what you want from this email. All right, don't try and do everything in the first outreach email. People try to introduce themselves, talk about their background, share a resume, talk about the job they want. All of a sudden, you've got a 20-paragraph outreach email. It's no way to go. All right, so instead, what we can do is we can say, hey, you look like you're doing some really cool work. I'm curious to learn more, maybe get some advice from you on my career path. Would you be open to a quick 15-minute virtual coffee meeting next Wednesday over lunch? You give a deadline. That way they can follow up. That way they have a deadline to follow up on. And if you don't hear from them, you have a deadline to follow up on. If you just say, let me know what works for you, let me know what time is convenient. Well, no times are convenient. That's putting the burden on them to pick a time rather than helping them. So you want to make it as easy as possible for them to say yes. So instead of saying what works for you, say, do these times work for you? And then you have something to work with. If they don't respond, you can follow up. If they don't respond again, leave them alone. Maybe it's just not the right connection. All right. So on to our last article. Politics over paychecks for many. I'm curious what your thoughts are on this, because This will be an interesting one, right? I mean, politics are controversial always, especially in the office. So prospective employers are looking at more than what their paycheck may be. According to a recent Edelman Trust Barometer report, over 75% of those surveyed in the US, China, UK, Brazil, India, Germany, and Japan say they have higher expectations for a prospective employer than 3 years ago. While 61% say they evaluate an employer based on where it stands on social issues and allowing employees to freely express political beliefs, today's employees say they also feel more empowered to take action within their organizations. So digging into this report, employers must lead the way in recreating trust with employees. The question here becomes, if you are going to be a company that stands for something, you have to actually follow through on it, right? I think what I've seen a lot is companies that say they stand for things, or that they have their vision and their mission and their values. And then later on, it comes out that all they really care about is money. Because, I mean, isn't that how companies function, right? At the end of the day, why do companies suddenly care about social issues? It's because people care about social issues, and they can make more money if they care about social issues. So the question becomes, well, which social issues do people care about, and how can we represent that with our company, right? They're not going to back social issues that will lose them customers, so they're going to back the most popular things. I don't feel that companies are actually virtuous in their support of these things. I think very similar to a podcast that I did on woke signaling with, who was I talking to? I apologize. I'm really bad at remembering details. But we did this great episode, and these companies, they come out and they say we stand for this, we stand for that. But when the rubber hits the road and you really dig in, you see that they're dumping chemicals into a children's playground, right? So realize that a lot of this stuff is signaling. All right. A lot of this stuff is marketing. A lot of this stuff is PR, right? Trying to put lipstick on a pig. I think that it's good for us to have higher expectations of companies, but it's also important for us to be realistic with our expectations of companies. If you're going to be turning down jobs because you want a certain type of company, well, you're going to limit your options, which is perfectly fine if that's what you want to do. But it's also something that, I always find it interesting where we purposely limit our options, and then we complain that we can't find what we want, right? It's I want to be, the childish view of I want to be in a relationship with X person who has all these amazing attributes and all these amazing things. And then you look at that list that teenager put together, and you're like, this is a fantasy person from a Disney film, right? There is a middle ground, right? You don't want to work at toxic companies that are ruining the planet, but also be realistic that a company is still a company at the end of the day, and their goal is to make money, and that they need to make money to pay you the salary. And so if you're willing to take the pay cut, more power to you. I do find that most people that I coach who started out their career in, nonprofits and who have been working really hard in these fields that are more altruistic tend to burn out more often and have a lot of financial struggles, and eventually need to move into some sort of a corporate space in order to rebuild their wealth and things like that. Granted, these are very big generalizations. It doesn't mean that, going corporate is always the best route for people. I definitely have taken a much more mission-driven career. I used to work in marketing at a credit card company, helping them get your money. Now I work for individuals trying to get jobs so that you can get money back from these companies. I flipped it around, same skill set, feels really good. Nice change for me. But there's always an eye on okay, I can do this work, but how do I also make a living doing this work, right? Being someone who's doing work just there's I'm getting all tied up in my head here, but I want you to have the best situation. I want you to feel good about your work and get paid. So how do we get there? That's what we got to figure out. All right. So good on people for spending more time actually being critical about the companies they work for, right? They say you vote with your dollars, right? You also vote with your time. So the time that you spend at companies working on these things, that's going to be what you go home at the end of the day and need to feel good about, right? And I'm sure there's people that get home at the end of the day and don't feel good about the work they're doing. I know when I worked in credit cards, I thought debt was a terrible thing. I didn't want anyone to be in credit card debt. I wasn't in credit card debt. And so it seemed weird that I was promoting something that increased people's debt with a really high, really high rates. Oh my goodness. But anyway, I digress. That is our LinkedIn news for the day. I want to end just sharing real quick a podcast that we have coming out today. It just went live. So check it out. You can go to careertherapy.com and click on podcast, and it will be in the list there. It's also on our YouTube channel and Spotify, iTunes, and all of that jazz. So if you click on Apple Podcasts, it pops up right here. Boom, boom. Would love for any of you to leave us a rating or a review. It really does help get the word out on these things so more people can see it. And I really think that this episode, CEO Hiring Red Flags, is really cool. We talk with Dr. Acerno, CEO of Decision One Dental, TEDx speaker, and we really break down red flags that hiring teams look for when talking with job seekers, what employees tend to forget when creating win-win scenarios with their employers, and how to escape the me bubble that prevents you from getting the job. And as always, Career Therapy is run by our Unstuck Career Coaching Program. It's a month-by-month, cancel anytime you need program. That's only $275 a month with private coaching, unlimited chat, group coaching, self-paced course, tactical support, cancel when you need it. Anyway, that's enough of the promotions there. All right. Thanks for stopping by. I'm really enjoying this version of the live stream with these reactions to the news. And I look forward to sharing more of this with you in the future on a week-by-week or random basis. And Marcus, great to see you again. Everyone else, enjoy your day. And see you on the other side.
I'm too old for this. Been around this, broken down for way too long. Left my home for this. Story-eyed, it's no surprise. Things went wrong. What was I thinking, babe? All the mistakes I made.